Member statements. I call the member for Maitland.
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker. I rise to thank the women of this place for the faith that they placed in me in electing me as New South Wales representative to the Commonwealth Women in Parliament's Steering Committee, and I thank our National Chair, elected with the support of women from all sides of this Parliament, the Honourable Catherine Cusack, MLC, for her support for my candidacy for this role. I'd also like to thank the Clerk of the House, Ms Ronda Miller, and her team for their support of the recent CWP Conference, which was held in July this year. The conference attracted a number of women parliamentarians from around Australia and indeed the world, with Pacific nations such as Bougainville and the Cook Islands joining us there. One of the themes of the conference was, of course, increasing the number of women in Parliament, and there were a number of strategies that were talked about in relation to this, and one of those was the Male Champions of Change program. And I was happy to see a number of men in this chamber, including the Leader of the Opposition, put themselves forward to achieving more representation of women across our Parliament. I hope that these men are able to provide excellent role models to other men in leadership positions, both in this place and in the wider community. The representation of women in the Parliament is an important issue, and I note that in the last election, of the 28 new members elected to this place, 13 were women. That's a result of around 46% of new members, which is getting close to equal representation, but not quite there yet. So I wanted to analyse these statistics and put them on the parliamentary record. The good news is that there's been an increase of 8 women into this Parliament as a result of those 28 members being elected, and where less than 18% of those seats were held by women in the previous Parliament. That's an important achievement. The representation of women overall in Parliament has increased from around 20% in the last Parliament to some 30% in this Parliament. If we look at the contributions of various parties to this debate, it's the Labor and the Greens who've done the heavy lifting on this issue, with 100% of new Green parliamentarians and 50% of new Labor parliamentarians in this place being women. It's sad to see that the Liberal National Coalition only achieved 25% of new parliamentarians being women, with a total of 3 new women to this place. But I must note, my sisters from the bush, the National Party, did achieve 50% of their 4 new parliamentarians elected as women. However, this does make the Liberal result even worse, meaning that only 1 of their 8 new elected members was a woman, or just 12.5%. Labor's achievement is even more impressive in the sense that it carried across both this place and the Legislative Council and involved the election of 22 new members, of whom 11 were women. It was part of a sustained effort of mentoring by men and women members of Parliament, party officials, and the creation of an environment within our party that women need to step up, and they can and will be treated as equals. We can debate here about whether quotas work or whether they don't, but the simple fact is that in my party, the Australian Labor Party, they are working. I was extremely proud to attend Labor's national conference in Melbourne a week ago, where Labor committed to achieving 50% representation of women for Labor across the Australian parliaments by 2025. I thank Federal Senator Deborah O'Neill, Kaylin Murnane, Tara Moriarty, Courtney Husis, and members of Emily's list, amongst a number of other women delegates, for their hard work to get this accepted into our platform, and most importantly, Labor's federal leader, Bill Shorten, for his leadership on this issue. This will be hard work in some parliaments around Australia due to other issues identified by the CWP Conference last week, and that issue is the pipeline. One of the tasks that I'll be seeking to address in my role on the CWP Steering Committee in this Parliament is to increase the focus on women in local government, women in local and regional chambers of commerce, women in trade unions and women in community groups, as all of these feed into the pipeline which produces women parliamentarians. I also want to see this government establish a joint ministerial advisory on women in local government, which previously met twice a year to advise government on issues in local government for women from both the representational and executive perspective. It's clear that this did contribute to the increase in the number of women candidates, but unfortunately not in the number of actual elected government representatives. One of the factors in this is, my view, is that many of the LNP members do not actually run with party branding at local government, which makes it harder for women to run and to get into a winnable position for local council. There's no formal pre-selection process, and it becomes more of an old boys club that runs a group of independents, or as they're so often called, Lib dependents. I think that this policy of not running branded candidates means that where the Liberals say politics doesn't belong in local government, it means that women don't belong in local government, and I'll be working to change this. Thank you.